Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Look, I'm rain, shine, or anything between. We're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And welcome to a pretty full recruiting week for K-State, where we have 3 football commits and 1 commit for each of the basketball teams, as well as covering the Batcats in Arizona, going up against Arizona and Grand Canyon. But let's just go ahead and dive straight into the football commits. The first of which is a very powerful name indeed, and that's Giacomo Sanfilippo, or Filippo, depending on how you feel about pronouncing the I. He is a 3-star linebacker coming out of the state of Florida. Other offers include Louisville and Illinois for most notable offers. And to me, this is the epitome of finding a player who is really good at one thing and then just sort of building around that trait. Because as like a pure middle linebacker, which I think we'll probably have him play middle linebacker, as a pure middle linebacker, he's fine to me. He doesn't take on blocks the greatest ways that you would like, and he has fine athleticism but tackles a little too high. But one thing that he is elite at is he is an elite off-ball blitzer. So much so that the vast majority of his highlights are him as an off-ball blitzer, which is actually pretty similar to year 1 Austin Romaine's skill set, where he was a much better blitzer than he was a true linebacker. So I see the vision here where we want that in this sort of hybrid scheme that Jordan Peterson is very likely to run just from his time at Fresno State and work with Mike Elko. I see the vision in having that blitzing middle linebacker who you may have 2 true middle linebackers in 1 hybrid set. So I get it. I question his scheme versatility, but at least he does have that one skill to really build around.
Yeah, I kind of do agree with you on most of that. I think he's a primary Mike backer. I think he kind of has that skill set. I think he has decent pursuit and run diagnosis, but I do agree with you in that like he does tackle really high right now, which that's a fixable problem. But like his most impressive trait right now is kind of the downhill off ball blitzing, which that is something that with refinement and with more work from a developmental standpoint, he can take some of those similar skills and apply them to inside run defense as well. So with time, I think this is someone that could potentially develop into a really strong player for K-State. We brought up Austin Romaine a little earlier, just in that he had a similar role as a freshman to kind of Giacomo's strengths right now. But really, I think that the upside with Giacomo is a lot more obvious than it was with Austin Romaine, because with Romaine, he really did from his high school tape, it was just shades of would have been good in the 90s for a linebacker, other than he had some incredible agility scores. But obviously once he got to K-State, he had to figure it out between the years, and he was great. Giacomo can make a similar impact with his between the ears part of football. And if he can maintain his athleticism, because he's a fairly athletic player. I'd say he's more athletic than Austin Romaine was this time. The only thing really going against him is he's a bit undersized for Mike. Not as bad for the modern game, but you'd still like to see your Mike backer a little larger than he's about 6'1", maybe 220, 230.
Yeah, and that is a little undersized. And the only thing that I will push back against, and it's more of a distinction, is the athleticism point about Romaine. I think in a straight line, Sanfilippo is a better athlete, but I don't think he has that same lateral quickness. But then again, I wouldn't have seen that in Romain if I didn't literally have his athletics testing scores. So maybe it's one of those situations, but I agree he is undersized, but in some ways he's creative enough and instinctual enough to where he can get away with it as a blitzer. Now, I would like to see him play against people that he wasn't just running around as a blitzer, because that is most of his highlights. He is not meeting blocks. And he's not really sifting through them either. He is just kind of running around them, that's how you blow run fits, and that's how you make a lot of mistakes or splash plays, depending on your point of view. But yeah, I see the vision here, and at minimum, he will be a good role player that you can bring in on your blitzing downs, whether that be early run defense downs or getting creative with third down blitz packages. And he will, at minimum, be good at that, and that's a valuable skill set.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Which leads us to the next commit, which is by far the best. In my opinion, it's the best of the commits that we're going to cover in this episode. It's definitely the one that has the most in the way of recruiting wins, and that's Ben Heineck from North Dakota, who was wanted by Iowa State, Missouri, Minnesota, Wisconsin, among others, but he ends up picking K-State, and he is a tight end. Apparently, the rumor is that K-State was one of the few schools that were actively recruiting him as a tight end. A lot of other teams wanted him as a D-end, which, looking at his D-end film, I think is a mistake. Not because he is a bad defensive end, but because you literally just have a 6'6" ball of clay. But to me, the best thing with Heineck is he is a unique archetype of tight end for K-State's recent history, he is a unique breed of recruited tight end. Because you look back in previous years, Lincoln Cure, receiving tight end. Garrett Oakley and Brady Lofton, both receiving tight ends. Will Ancio, Andrew Metzger, both receiving tight ends. You have to go back to a former walk-on in Ben Sinnott, who, granted, calling him a former walk-on, I feel is a little disingenuous given what he became, but it's still technically true, to see a true quote-unquote tight end. And even then, that's still an anomaly in that time frame. Because I'd say the last time we had a true tight end as the recruit would be Will Swanson and Connor Fox. But that's what he is. He is a true inline tight end who is more than capable of blocking, but still has that receiving upside, which that is 90% of the time that we've seen has been receiving tight ends just going up and destroying people. They were playing wide receiver, but are tall and running 4.8. So they're just automatically tight ends. Heineck is going to be slower than those other receiving tight ends, but he's also a lot stronger and he's a lot more of a bruiser than the other tight ends. So this is the first true tight end that we have seen recruited in we weren't on the show for Swanson era. So what, 7-8 years?
Probably, yeah. I mean, if the stance you're going on is tight ends that know how to block when they get to campus, then you might be right. Because I really like Ben Heineck, but I was also really surprised watching his Hubble tape because I've gotten so used to the archetype of tight end that K-State was bringing in, where they're someone that is a great pass catcher, really great in space in high school, and can kind of block at the high school level, but we'll need some work on that at the college level. So this was the total opposite. He's fine catching the ball. He has highlights where he does that, but he's like an offensive tackle basically. And I think there was even some discussion for a few schools about maybe pushing him out to offensive tackle as well. See if he could put on the weight and withstand it, because he does have a really great frame to do that. But I like his value a bit more. I think as an inline blocking tight end that can also release and make a catch in space. So like I really really like this pickup, and it definitely helps that there were a lot of other schools going after him as well. Like this was a about a dozen other power conference schools, more than I think, including several Big Ten and SEC schools, as well as some other conference rivals going after him. So, like this was a pretty significant recruiting victory for K State. That's not the most glamorous, just by nature of being a blocking tight end, but that's not really a position that we have carried on the roster that much outside of Will Swanson.
Yeah, especially with most of the time those players in the modern day are just called fullbacks or H-backs. But I do think that he is a legitimate inline tight end that is already a really good blocker and has all right to good receiving upside, especially as a sort of possession guy. Because he does have a few times where he does just get up and snag a football. In fact, there's one highlight that I'm thinking of in particular where the quarterback is like falling down and Heineck is just waiting in the end zone, staring at the football before he catches it. It was in the air for a good 2 or 3 seconds, and he was just standing there before just destroying some poor guy who doesn't deserve it. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite pickup just based off of, I think this is the safest pickup because, Sanfilippo, you know what he's going to do. But with Heineck, you know what he's going to do, and it's not hard to see his future upside.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're looking for a downside, he is slow. He does look very slow in his film. And maybe it's a camera angle thing, but bro does not look fast.
It's tough to tell, yeah. That's probably the case, just because I mean the competition he's facing is just going to be really pretty poor where he's at. I mean, because he's from Stanley, North Dakota, and then at first I was wondering, okay, well, what's the proximity to Fargo? And the answer is that it's not proximate at all. It's significantly closer. It's actually not very far at all from Montana, and it's pretty far north. It's one of the last towns of 2,000 or more people before you get to Canada. So, the comp up there may even be worse than 6-man football in Western Kansas. So
it might be just because there's no one exists up there. You may be fighting deer for one of your football games.
Yeah, that may be their best option. The only real civilization around there would be a Minnow with the Air Force Base. But even then, that's not extremely close. This is a middle of nowhere that our Western Kansas audience, I think, can really appreciate. Although it's even more remote, honestly.
This is advanced nowhere.
Yeah, because there's not a Denver or Kansas City coming down the pipe with this place. So
you're going up to Canada. I think the next thing you might hit is Alberta.
Yeah.
The next one I think probably has the most interesting upside and the widest variance for what he could become, and that's wide receiver David Rushing out of Arizona. Now, he's listed as a mid-tier 3-star, but did have offers from K-State, Oklahoma State, Utah, and San Diego State. So, interesting offer list where you have regional school, Oklahoma State, and then K-State. K-State ends up winning the day there. And the thing with him is he hasn't been playing football for very long. but you see him flash certain things where you can tell he kind of knows the game beyond what he's already played, because he's only, he's played for a very short time. And I think someone who takes a look at his film, the first thing that they'll say is, oh, he's fast, he's really good on go balls, he's a really good deep threat. And then maybe they kind of stop there because that's the most obvious thing that he does. But firstly, he also has run blocking reps, which any wide receiver that posts their run blocking reps gets a thumbs up from me. But he flashes tools and knowledge of playing wide receiver that you don't expect from a stereotypical deep threat. There are some times that his routes, and I don't say this lightly, there are some times that his routes look like Jerry Jeudy routes. And I'm not exaggerating with that, because he will stop on a dime on like a comeback route or an in, and he doesn't take time to collect himself. He's just gone. And that is so tantalizing to me. The problem is he doesn't do it very often, because I think his coaches are like, he's faster than everyone else. He just run a go ball, whatever. And to me, that's selling him so short. But it's those flashes that interest me so much. So this is the widest variance, because he might step on campus and get with Thad Ward and instantly become like wide receiver 3 or 4 on the roster. Or he could go down to FCS after like 2 seasons, because he still hasn't figured it out, but has the tools.
Yeah. I'm really enthralled by David Rushing. I loved his highlight tape. It's one of the better wide receiver highlight tapes from a K-State commit a bit now. And I agree. I love his route running. Obviously he's very fast. There's no disputing that, but the suddenness that he brings to his route running is what is really getting me. And I think you made the Jerry Jeudy comp. I'm going to make a comp that maybe a few other K-State fans have already thought of. But when I watch him on kind of the stutter go, where he gets about 10 yards downfield, stutters and just dusts a corner, it really feels like Tyler Lockett to me. Like he's even kind of got a similar build to him. I think he lists himself on Twitter as 6'1". On3 says he's 5'10". He's probably 5'11", I think. But he has that sort of sudden burst to his game that I really like. Jace Brown's an excellent route runner, but his route running was built less on stop and start and burst and more on consistency and not losing speed, I think. But I really like David Rushing's film. I like that he's a willing blocker as well, especially as an undersized receiver, because half the battle when you're an undersized receiver and trying to run block is just trying. And you can get to be a really valuable piece if you play above your weight, so to speak. But yeah, I think he right now is not getting the praise he deserves, because like you said, he's kind of like on the upper end of the middle tier of 3 stars, being an 87. I think he should probably be an 89 or maybe even a 90. Some of that may just be his frame, and some of that also may be, like you said, I didn't actually know that he had been playing football very long, because I didn't know that information before you said it, and I would have never guessed it from watching his film, because he looks like a seasoned player that understands a lot of the little things with being a wide receiver that a lot of guys, it may take them several years to pick up.
Yeah, he's only been playing football for 2 years. That's the crazy thing to me.
That is so crazy. His route running is so advanced for somebody that has not been playing football that long. So this is a great find by this K-State staff. Obviously, like he got a few other power conference offers, and he had an official visit set up to Oklahoma State for the summer. But with his highlight tape and with the summer recruiting windows coming along, I can't help but feel that we got in just before the price was going to shoot up, so to speak, with a guy like David Rushing.
Yeah, and I will say that if he did or does take that visit to Oklahoma State, that is terrifying to me to imagine him in that offense in particular. That sounds disgusting. Like, that just sounds gross. I don't want to think about that.
That sort of pairing, it would immediately just flashbacks to kind of those early to mid 20 teens Mike Gundy Oklahoma State offenses, even into the late aughts. Like it seemed like those teams always had just a slew of burners at receiver.
Yes,
yeah. Don't let them do it.
Yeah, do not do that. But is it safe to say that he has? First off, this isn't the first thing I've said. I don't know why I said first off. But I just want to point out that there is a rep in his highlight tape pretty early on where he dusts the corner so bad that the corner immediately starts grabbing at his hamstring trying to save face. And anytime that you get those reps, oh, baby boy, like that is so tough because you see him legitimately, you just see Rushing right behind him, and you just see the corner immediately reach at his hamstring because he knew that he was no longer a part of the play. But is it my favorite highlight tape of a K-State receiver commit since we've done the show? It might be second. It's fighting for first with it. Connor, can you take a guess who first is?
Well, shoot, I actually don't know. It could be about anybody. I feel like there's some options. I think I might know though, but you say it.
It's LP4.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of. I was thinking it was him or Spivey because I remember really liking Spivey's highlight tape.
Yeah, Spivey had really good highlight tape because it was really complete. Mm-hmm. LP4, Larry Porter IV he came out of nowhere, and that's the funny thing. Max Lovett and Jace Brown, there are times that I will think about highlights from both of them, and I will get confused on which player was which.
They're the same picture, man. Like I'm really liking Max Lovett. I mean, he probably won't crack the rotation this year because, like, unlike when Jace was a true freshman, like I don't think there's as many open spots. Like, I mean, our lead receiver, Jace's freshman year was Phillip Brooks, like, and then there's Ben Sinnott. So, like the options just aren't really there. But if we can get Lovett involved, like on special teams, maybe in the return game, depending on how things turn out with like Bryce Nurnberg, Money Elston, and Sterling Lockett as well, kind of some of the returners that did that last year. I'd like to find ways to get him involved.
Yeah. But yeah, of the three commits, I would say they're each very different, even in my evaluations, where one, I know what they're going to be, and that's probably just what they are, and that's the blitzing linebacker in San Filippo. There's Heineck, who I know what he is. He's going to be a very, very good blocking tight end with a little bit of receiving upside. And then Rushing is just a complete wild card where the tools are all there, and if he puts it together, he's the only one that I think senior year tape is going to could massively change an evaluation of him, because if he needs to expand upon the flashes, but his suddenness is, I mean, it's the most sudden receiver in K-State since Tyler Lockett. And I don't say that lightly, but I don't think it's close.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of David Rushing. He's somebody I hope that we can hold on to, because I know that better the waters you swim in for trying to land commits, the more competitors there are that will be lurking and still trying to work and flip guys late. So,
But now we can move to the basketball side of things where we can talk about the men's basketball commit, and that's Timotei Malavets, I believe is how it's pronounced. Connor told me beforehand, but I'm not very good at pronouncing names. Not as bad as some, but still pretty bad. Some. But he's a forward transferring in from Miami, another international guy, and this is a good pickup to me, and it's probably the last pickup of the roster. Maybe there's one more flying around somewhere, but this is to me the last one that we're going to hear about, or that I think has an opportunity to crack the starting lineup pretty quickly. 6'7" size, little light for that size at 180, but didn't play too much at Miami, but has the upside, listed as a 4-star transfer. And we were looking for sort of another guy to play that 4 role, and here he is. So I think that we have a complete roster at this point. It's just a matter of, how good are the individual pieces.
Yeah, the thing that really intrigues me with Malavets is not necessarily what he did this past year at Miami, because he only started a couple of games, and he wasn't just gotta have it guy in the portal based on his Miami production. I don't think you'd really get anybody arguing that. I mean, just 4.2 points a game, 1.3 rebounds, just about 1 assist per game. Only about 15 minutes a game. And yeah, his shooting numbers were just fine, but he was mostly taking threes. On his 3.7 field goal attempts per game, 3.4 of those were 3-point shots. What really, I think, should kind of get people to raise their eyebrows on Malavets is more of his overseas time. He's a Slovakian national. He played in the World Cup qualifiers for them. And in the World Cup qualifiers, he averaged 22.6 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, 1.5 assists, then 44.8% from 3 on 7.3 attempts per game, and 92% at the free throw line on almost 7 attempts a game. In fact, in those games, he was actually initiating the offense as well. He, for lack of a better term, he was running the point. That's not the only part of his game, but he is, I think, about as close to a true 1 through 4 guy that you're going to get. He's somebody that, like you said, Ace, he can play the 4. He has the size for it, at least in height. Weight needs a bit of work, but you also don't want him to get too heavy. But he's primarily an outside shooter. So he lives on the wing, but he is a really good ball handler. And he's able to parlay that into running the offense a bit as well. So he's not really a traditional point guard by any stretch of the imagination, but he's somebody that can do that for us if we need to. So he's a great add, I think. He fits Alexander's system about perfectly with being a primarily 3-point shooter. And then he also fills a need of having someone else that can handle the ball around the offense for us. And then he also provides for this positional versatility. He can, play the air quote 1 on offense, and he can guard the 3 or the 4 if we need him to. So really, I think a valuable pickup, especially with him coming off of just a bit of a disappointing season with Miami, but he could be the type of player that's primed for taking a bit of a step this next year.
Yeah. I really don't have anything to add, but I do like what you said about his international time being a better indicator, because that serves as a perfect transition for the women's basketball commit, which is Taya Client. or Cleant. And Connor took multiple years of French. He was the French taker. I was the Spanish taker for our respective Bachelor of Arts degrees. But this is another one where, you want to look much more to her international time than her time at Penn State, because she is transferring from Penn State. Though she did play well at Penn State, nearly 9 points a game, about a 41% field goal percentage and a 30% three-point percentage. But the upside really comes in looking at her European time, because she was part of the teams in the French national team where she was a star, really. 13 points a game, nearly 4 assists, and about a rebound and a half in her time in the European championships and FIBA. Also, just a really good pickup as a guard for a team that did lose one of their presumably what would have been one of their starting guards for this upcoming season in Jordan Spicer. So I like the pickup in that it's a really high upside pickup and someone who did produce at Penn State and probably was just looking for an expanded role that we were able to offer to her, probably because Jordan Spicer left.
Yeah. I think on top of wanting a bigger role, she probably wanted a team where she saw a bit more upside, because Penn State was third to last in the Big Ten this past season. They went 11-18, 4-14 in conference play. So she probably didn't leave what was otherwise a good situation, like playing in Europe, to come to the States and be on a team that was kind of struggling, because Penn State, they had really just two high scores. They had one player average 21.6, the other average 19.2, and everybody else was 9.4 or less per game. So she was fourth on the team in scoring as a true freshman coming over to the States for the first time. Her turnover rate was definitely a little high, so that's a bit of a concern. But if we're doing the comparison drawing from their European time, her time in Europe was pretty impressive and consistent. Not having quite as high of highs as Malavets did, but it seems that at least for her first year, her game translated a bit more cleanly than Timotei Malavets did, where Malavets definitely a 3-point specialist offensively. Cleant, she has some added benefits as while being undersized of 5'9", she initiates offense and can play the point guard role as well. So it's not just going to be shooting while she's out there. And she's shown that she can be at least a decent scorer at this level. So I'm curious to see about pairing her with Gina Garcia and then also Terrence Sides. The only concern I think that starts to bubble up is with Gina, you'd have 2 point guards on the floor at the same time, and with Taryn, you would have 2 5'9" or shorter guards on the floor at the same time. But she's somebody I think that could still rotate in and be an effective piece for us next year.
The small ball lineup would go crazy. I don't know if it's crazy good or just crazy, but it certainly would.
Depends on if the threes are falling. That's it.
True. But yeah, so I really do like all the pickups that we talked about today, but now we get to talk about the Batcats, who picked up a much-needed series down in Arizona and picked up a midweek up against Grand Canyon. The first one was probably the most surprising way that this K-State team could have won, in that it was a pitcher's duel that K-State came out on top of, which, I don't think we've been able to say that the entire year. But K-State won the first game 2-1. Now, I do want to point out that I don't think this Arizona team, despite what I said last week when I was mistaken, confusing them for Arizona State, which I feel like if I ever walk into the state of Arizona again, if I go to Tempe, they may kill me.
Yeah, you might want to be careful with that.
Yeah. But they're not good. they're just not very good this year, and I think this offensive showcase for them for pretty much the entire weekend, excluding the last game, sort of shows that. But in the first game, we did have three legitimately good pitching performances. First from James Guyette, going 6 innings, 5 hits, only 1 earned run with 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. Do want to get rid of the wild pitches and hit by pitches, but he hits one guy a game, so at this point, you just accept it. That's what he does. That's what he does. And then Adam Arthur goes for 1 1/3, only gives up 1 hit, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts to 1 wild pitch. Then Miles Smith ends up closing out the game, going 1 2/3, no hits, no earned runs, no walks, and a strikeout. So, first off, I want to point out they were very efficient. Only 136 pitches thrown throughout the entirety of the game. Stranger than that is Arizona threw fewer pitches, throwing 110 to get through the game, which is absurd, but fine. That's what happens when no one is scoring. But James Guyette really, this is the kiss of death. We're going to compliment a player. But James Guyette has done really, really well lately. And I think it's because he really is sort of finding his rhythm with that fastball and getting that arm side run, and not having the flat pitches that he has had in the weeks preceding it. So naturally, this means that he's going to lose the ability to throw a two-seam fastball and is just going to throw BP for the next game, because that's what happens whenever we compliment someone.
Pretty much, yeah. Because outside of the TCU game that he started, his last 4 starts have been good. Just that one against TCU, that one awry. But yeah, that Utah game, he had 10 strikeouts, only allowed 3. Oklahoma State, he had 12 strikeouts, only allowed 3. Technically, it was only 1 earned run. The other 2 were unearned because of error, but it was like his throwing error. So like you can't trick me on that one.
You cannot fool me. I'm familiar with your game.
And then this one with Arizona was really good. So I love these long outings he's getting. Just keeping an eye on the pitch count, because he's now approaching 1,000 pitches through this season so far. He's at 988. Right now he threw 124 in our and win against Oklahoma State, and then it was just about 100 this Arizona game. But still, if we can get solid Friday night starts consistently from James Guyette, then I'm absolutely taking that.
Yeah. But you're not exactly spoiled for choice for offensive performances, buddy.
Yeah, there was not a lot going on here on offense. 7 hits for K-State. Of course, just the 2 runs. And also only 1 walk. And this one did get hit by a couple of pitches. But Ty Spolinski, when he got hit by a pitch, he also got picked off and stole a base in this game. So Ty was a busy man in the box score. But yeah, not a lot of super notable performances here. D. Kennedy went 1 for 3 and doubled. Other than that, AJ Vasco, he was 2 for 3 and scored a run. And then Caden Carl, he went 0 for 3, but he had the lone RBI of the game for K-State with a sac fly in the 9th inning following an AJ Vasco double. So big shouts to Caden Carl. But then Garrett Gallagher was the only other score of a run. And I was in the 8th inning on a pass ball, so you can't bat somebody in on a pass ball because the bat was not involved in the play. So that's really it for the offense. Like, not a lot happened. It was just enough.
Next day, you have a lot more to talk about with the 11-1 technically run rule, though it was only 1 inning shorter. But that's because K-State kind of beat Arizona to death in the 8th inning, where K-State had not scored up until the 7th, scored 3 in the 7th, then scored 8 in the 8th inning to get the run rule game. But this is another really, really good pitching performance for K-State, only giving up a grand total of 4 hits. And by pitching performance, it was one dude. It was Lincoln Sheffield, going 8 innings, only 4 hits, 1 earned run with 10 strikeouts. So again, I feel like Lincoln Sheffield's been really consistent outside of an off game, either 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago. They blend together at this point. But yeah, Lincoln Sheffield has been really good. That's all.
Yeah, his Lincoln, his last 3 starts, he's all in all of them he's allowed 4 or more earned runs. Utah, he only went 2 innings, allowed 4 earned runs. TCU, he went 5 1/3, but gave up 6 runs. In that Oklahoma State game, he gave up 5 earned, 6 total, and 7 hits, but had the 9 strikeouts to 0 walks. But you go past that, he had a 7 inning game against Arizona State. And it also had earlier in the year some solid performances too. But yeah, 8 innings out of Sheffield, an efficient 8 innings too, going 110 pitches. So really, really strong stuff from Lincoln. For him, it's pretty much entirely about placement and setting up your off speeds as well, because he's just not an overpowering pitcher. But when the command is there, which for what it's worth, it is most of the time, and he's kind of gets some momentum behind him off just as a pitcher, then like he's just kind of off to the races for the most part, like because he works quickly on the mound. Like he does not waste time at all. The pitch clock is just not a problem for him, and like overall, he's a really strong pitcher and makes the absolute most of every last bit of juice he has in his arm. So, big shout out to Lincoln Sheffield. Yeah, but I guess now talking about the offense, and this was a weird one because for the first 6 innings of the game, this was looking really similar to the game the day before. As we got to the top of the 7th, K-State was down 1-0 and had really not done a whole lot. And Arizona was looking at hopefully trying to get a stop. Those first 6 innings, Arizona starter Smith Bailey, he gave up 1 hit, 1 walk, and had 15 strikeouts through 6 innings. And then they took him out. Like his pitch count was like kind of high at 99, but like if you got a guy who's got 15 strikeouts in a game, you might want to keep throwing him. I think
maybe.
Like I'm no manager, but yeah. So I don't know, unless his arm was just falling off in the dugout or something. But like that's a guy you try and squeeze another inning out of, I think, or at least one more out. But yeah, then the bullpen for Arizona just absolutely fell apart. After those great 6 innings from Smith Bailey with 99 pitches, Arizona as a pitching staff, they nearly doubled their pitch total in just getting the last 6 outs that they registered. As the K-State offense just absolutely exploded starting in that 7th inning with a Nick English home run. It's a deep left field, a 411-footer. And I put the Cats up for good. And the 8th inning, K-State just kept finding a way. Bear Madliak double, and then another passed ball, then a Caden Carl single just up the line, and then a D. Kennedy grand slam to top things off. So excellent stuff from the K-State offense in those last 2 innings. A lot of notables. D. Kennedy, of course, 2 for 5, had the grand slam, did strike out 3 times. He's been definitely pushing the issue a bit more recently because for his standards, he's been slumping. But he's still in like the 390 range. AJ Vasco went 3 for 5 in this one. Bear Madliak 2 for 4, also drew a walk. Then Caden Carl 1 for 3, but had 2 RBI and also drew a walk. And then, of course, Nick English, the pinch hit 3-run homer that was the kind of the nitrous that the K-State offense needed, just a sort of shot in the arm from Nick English in this one. And then he also drew a walk later in the game. So big shout out to Nick English, who has not been a regular starter this year, but has gotten some pinch hitting work and has been a spot starter. And when he has played, he has been light years better than he was as a sophomore. So junior year Nick English, we're starting to kind of see a return to form with what we saw in freshman year Nick English, maybe even a bit better.
Because sophomore year Nick English was quite literally unplayable. I also want to point out that this game gave D. Kennedy, or let him tie, the single season junior home run record for K-State. So, he has about a month to beat that. So I think between now, as we record this, because we are recording this a day early, fun fact, probably should have mentioned that at the beginning of the episode in case 17 people commit tomorrow on the day of the NFL draft, specifically to spite us, because the world definitely revolves around us. But yeah, I think between now and May 16th, he's going to hit another home run. That's my prediction.
I think your prediction is going to ring true.
But yeah, we are entering the conversation, and maybe this is an end of season conversation of is this the best K-State season from a shortstop in program history? It might already be there, but I still think that it would be a debate at this point. If he keeps up this pace, he's going to smash the record. He might honestly end up with best individual season for a K-State baseball player.
I think that's the trajectory he's on. And by that, I mean best season period for a K-State baseball player, because not only has he been excellent, and his batting average actually is back up a tad. He's up to 392 now. But on top of that, he has also been an elite defender. So I think the conversation is more than warranted. In fact, no disrespect at all to Kalen Culpepper, but I think that D. Kennedy, I think this is probably a better season than Kalen Culpepper ever had. And that's a high bar to clear, but just as an individual season, what D. Kennedy has been doing this year, it's unprecedented for K-State baseball.
Yeah. If only the ones that I was considering before we get to the last two games, because I think they're both not really notable for different reasons. The last game, the Arizona series, we got blown up. It was bound to happen at some point because we just kind of ran out of. We still don't know who our day 3 starter is, so we're just trying to figure that out. But to me, the contenders are, funnily enough, all 3 shortstops. So I should have just clarified that to begin with. I was thinking of Nick Goodwin's last year, and then Max Martin the year before this one. I think those are kind of the contenders, because KC's thing was he was just always freakishly consistent, but he never had that drop his nuts on everyone's forehead type of season. He was just consistently good. Goodwin's last year, he was not the defender that D. Kennedy was, but his offensive production was really good. D. Kennedy's probably better. I mean, it's certainly better in terms of average, because Goodwin was sitting in the 250s, but for some reason always just drove in a bunch of runs. But yeah, I think I would give it to him just right now. But if Max Martin he didn't. But if he kept up the pace at the beginning of the season, good God. People forget that was the greatest stretch of play we've ever seen.
Yeah, he was at 10 or something home runs before we were to spring break, it felt like. But yeah, then the brakes just got slammed and he really slumped for a while. But then there was Keegan O'Connor that was the one that ended up actually getting the home run record after it looked like a just sure thing that Maximus Martin was going to be the one to break it. But that ended up being Keegan O'Connor.
Good old KOC, who I think was the unsung hero of that season. But anyway, we can have the D. Kennedy GOAT status discussion at the end of the season. we have one more game to cover, and that was two more games to cover, one more in the Arizona series. K-State kind of got beat up on a little bit by Arizona, though it was 11-7 victory for Arizona, the other Wildcats. Fortenberry got the start, goes 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 total, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Taz Butler, 2 2/3, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. Adam Arthur, unfortunately, goes only 1/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks. So brutal stat line there. And Aaron Arnold came in for the last inning, goes 1 inning, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 strikeout, and a wild pitch. So no good performances from the pitchers, but they were such good noodles for the first 2 games. I guess I can give them a pass.
Yeah, I was really disappointed about dropping the game. Not so much in that we didn't get the sweep. Like, in a vacuum, like, it's fine to take a road series. It just did kind of hurt, and that we ended up making no RPI gains from this series because we took a couple tiny jumps from the wins, and then the loss set us back to where we were. So like ultimately, this series was a wash, maybe a slight dip, but I was still disappointed with the loss, especially since we held the lead for a bit there in the 3rd inning, and even through to the 5th, and we had some preventable runs there in the 5th inning. With some errors, but yeah, this was one I was hoping we'd be able to get, and we had a big run there in the 8th, but we just couldn't capitalize as much as we needed to, and then Arizona got some insurance at the bottom of the 8th, and that was that.
Yeah. Such is life, though. There are a few notable offensive performances for you to cover, at least with this one.
Yeah, I'm here. Nick English, he went 2 for 5 with a pair of RBI. D. Kennedy, only 1 for 5 in this one. Bear Madliak went 1 for 3 with a home run. So like he was kind of the key to the comeback while that was still a possibility there in the 8th inning with that 3-run homer. But outside of that kind of group of folks, not a ton going on. Chandler Murray got the start again. We've seen him make some Sunday at midweek starts. He went 1 for 3. We've seen a bit more lineup shakeup as the season has gone on. We've seen Pete kind of on these Sunday games and sometimes the midweeks give some guys a day off. I think D. Kennedy at this point might be the only guy that's like played and started every game.
Yeah, which the only other ones that I could see in contention are Ovasco and Inoue, because I do think that Inoue he just hasn't left the lineup that I remember. He's always been there at second base. I think everyone else has had at least one off day.
Yeah, I think Ovasco definitely. I think he was off for the Wichita State game, if I remember correctly. Because I think we had Murray at first base, and I can't remember who we had in right field that game, but I don't think it was him.
Either way, fun fact of D. Kennedy, you cannot take him out of the lineup.
No, that would be malpractice. And I know that there's a lot of, and understandably at times, there's a lot of consternation about P. Hughes and his management abilities, but I don't think it goes to the point where he would take D. Kennedy out of a game willingly. So I don't think that's a concern.
Yeah, I don't either. The last game that we get to talk about is the Grand Canyon game, which is a game that you and I were both surprised even happened. It was an 8-3 victory for K-State, though Grand Canyon did strike first by scoring 3 in the first 2 innings for K-State. I mean, really the difference was the 6th inning where K-State scored 5. Austin Haley got the start, goes 2 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, Two of those were on a home run, another was on a sac fly. And then the bullpen was lights out for the back half of the game. Cohen Feaser going 4 innings, only 1 hit to 2 strikeouts and a walk. Adam Arthur, 1 2/3, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts. And then finally closing it out is Miles Smith, 1 1/3, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts. So the combination of Adam Arthur into Miles Smith has been very effective these last few weeks. I'm glad that we're finally putting, okay, Cole Weisenbaker isn't dead, but I'm glad that we're just kind of letting him take the mental reset that he quite clearly needs. Probably not. I don't want to definitively shut him down for the season because that's not my choice, but he definitely needs some time to sort of get his feel back for pitching, and Adam Arthur has really stepped up for that. That's the first time that's happened in a while. The AC, I'll be right back.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really like that combination that we've seen. Then another guy, Aaron Arnold, he's been a welcome surprise. Somebody who has kind of taken a bit of a step forward as a relief pitcher. He's not a lights out guy necessarily, but he is really strong out the pen right now. And I've really been a fan of Aaron Arnold's work as of late. But yeah, I was surprised the Grand Canyon game happened as well, because like the Grand Canyon's not a very good team. Their RPI is pretty low as well. And it's a road game. It's a midweek game. This game just had flashing red alert alarms all over it as like an RPI nuclear obliteration game. But K-State ended up taking care of business, luckily.
Yeah. That leads to the offensive performances, but there's a lot of good there too.
Yeah. Well, for one, D. Kennedy had a home run in this game, so he broke that junior record that we had mentioned earlier, and he has now tied the overall single season K-State record for home runs in a season. So D. Kennedy can get one home run in the next month. He will become the all-time K-State leader in home runs. So regardless of whether he does that or not, and I'm assuming he probably will, he still deserves a ton of praise and credit for having such an incredible season. And as we said earlier, he's going to go down as one of the greats for K-State, regardless of even just at shortstop. There's really not too many guys I think they're in his company. I think you maybe look at like an AJ Morris with his 2009 season. Like I think is probably the most decorated All-American K-State's ever had, with being an ace starter and having a 209 season ERA and 100 strikeouts. Like, not a lot of guys touching that, especially with today's game going the way it is. It seems like baseballs are flying more than ever now, especially the college level. But D, in this game alone, went 3 for 5, so that'll raise the average a bit. Only had 2 RBI in this game, which I say it's a bad thing, but still, he had that 5th inning home run, 17th home run of the year. It was a solo home run, and then he also had a 6th inning infield single that just moved everybody station to station with the bases loaded sort of situation. Then outside of him, Caden Carl is kind of the big name here. 3 for 5 for Caden. He had a home run as well. Also tallied a double. Then just 1 strikeout. Played very well in center field. I know we've talked about it several times already, but he has really just been a absolute revelation, and he's someone that we badly needed to have this sort of season, because when you lose Robbie Bolin and you lose Dante Lewis, like somebody's got to step up as the number 3 center fielder. He has played like an all Big 12 center fielder, and he was the third option. So big shout out to Caden Carl. But outside of him, Grant Gallagher, he went 0 for 2, but he had an RBI and scored a couple runs off of a pair of walks. So Grant Gallagher still finding a way to make it happen, even though he's been slumping a bit, but he's still been a plus defender at the hot corner. In fact, he's some advanced analytics have him as one of the top defenders in all of the Big 12. I believe he was third in defensive runs saved. I think he was behind like D. Kennedy and then I think KU's catcher. But yeah, a really excellent offensive performance, but really paced by Caden Carl and D. Kennedy for the most part. Didn't strike out much in this game, only 6. 3 of those went to Nick English, unfortunately. He had a golden sombrero. But it happens to everybody. But yeah, lots of ground outs, I think, in this game. Flyouts and ground outs mostly. So making a lot of contact, but it took a while to get the runs in. But once they started, we kind of got them in bunches like we seem to always do.
Yep. So now by the way, the Grant Gallagher thing actually surprises me because at the beginning of the year he was awful at third base, but he's really come along recently. But the biggest series of the year is coming up, and I'm not exaggerating on that. KU is coming to town for a weekend series. They're ranked 16th in the country right now. This is one of those where you got to win at least 2 of 3. It's not just because they're a rival. If anyone had 16 next to their name, I would say it would be a very important series. But the fact that it's a rivalry just elevates it all the more. Connor, I believe, is planning on being there. I will unfortunately be house sitting in Kansas City, but I will be watching. So biggest series of the year, and one that if you take 2 of 3, your at-large bid looks all the better to get. So this is one of those where we need to show up.
Yeah, badly needed. KU is RPI 19 right now. They've had a lot of big wins recently. They beat Nebraska at home this past Tuesday, which Nebraska in their own right, they're up to RPI 13. They're 31-10. So they're having an excellent year on their own. But yeah, this is a very, very surprisingly strong KU baseball team. The big thing that is especially surprising about them is that they are winning a lot of close games. Majority of their wins the past month or so, about the last like 3.5 weeks, have been by 3 runs or less. And in that stretch of play, they've only lost 1 game. And that was a run rule loss to Oklahoma State on Saturday, but they took the other 2 from Oklahoma State. So this is a KU team that, despite starting the season really slow, they are well on their way to, like, if the season ended today, they'd be hosting a regional. So like, this is a massive series for K-State. And the fans luckily understand that. The Saturday game is sold out already for advance tickets. The Friday game probably will follow, and then hopefully the Sunday. I will definitely be there on Saturday. Probably not Sunday, maybe Friday. So I'm really looking forward to this series, but I completely agree with you. We need to win 2 of 3 from this series. Outside of it being KU, like, this is a top 20 RPI team. And while D1 baseball has us as the as a 3 seed right now, I can't remember which region we were in. There's been some publications that have had us in like the next 4 out. So right now, if the season ended, we're very firmly on the bubble, and that's after earlier this season. Like, this seems to happen every year. We played our way into a kind of high 2 seed, even like hosting conversations sort of place. But this would be huge to keeping us on the right side of the bubble. And we can't forget about Tuesday, we can't, if we do have a good weekend, that Tuesday we travel to Lincoln and play Nebraska. So this next 4-game stretch, ideally you take at least 2 of the 4, but you want to take more than that, of course, but you cannot afford to go 1-3 or 0 for 4 this next stretch.
Yeah, if you go 0 for 4, the odds of you even getting into the NCAA tournament are slipping through your fingers. Because at that point, you have to take the West Virginia series in Morgantown, which I don't see happening. You need to beat the hell out of Missouri State in a midweek. Then you have to win your last 2 series up against Cincy and UCF, who are both good teams this year.
Yeah, and you can't trip up against Omaha on May 6th, the day after that Missouri State game, which we talked about last week. If there's ever been a cancelable game due to RPI reasons, it is that Omaha game right there, because we already lost to them once. Just don't risk it. Do not risk it.
It's not worth it. You gain nothing from winning. But yeah, a massive week for the Batcats, both upcoming and a massive week for recruiting this week. So we want to give you thanks for sticking with us in this episode. But Connor, do you have any last notes?
No, nothing else from me.
All right. Well, if that's the case, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us just about anywhere at Aggieville Alleycats. And if you want to email us, we're AggievilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I'm at ACEdward00.
I'm at Connor Bouncler, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store. Link found in our podcast and Twitter bio. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Where come rain, shine, or anything between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.